how they begged the maintenance guy to stay after firing him. Have you ever wondered what would happen if the one person who kept everything running suddenly disappeared? I witnessed firsthand how a single employee's knowledge can be the glue holding an entire store together, and what chaos ensues when that knowledge walks out the door. I used to work at a big box store called BEGGED. This was right after the 2008 financial crisis, and like many businesses, we were desperately trying to cut costs. Management decided to lay off 2 of our 3 full-time maintenance guys, keeping only Jake, our head of maintenance. Jake was a wizard when it came to keeping the store running smoothly. He could fix just about anything and always went above and beyond to help out. But with his team gone, Jake was stretched impossibly thin. Management kept piling on more responsibilities, having him coordinate part-timers for cleaning and cart collection. This left Jake with almost no time for actual maintenance work. About 6 months in, things started falling apart. Literally. First, our floor cleaning machines broke down. Turns out they needed weekly maintenance that Jake no longer had time to do. That cost us thousands in repairs. A few days later, we nearly had a serious accident when the blade flew off a deli slicer, barely missing an employee's face. Jake used to tighten that bolt every week, but he'd warned management it needed replacing. They ignored him. Management finally called Jake in for a meeting. They wanted to know why everything was going wrong. Jake tried explaining that he needed more time for maintenance, but they brushed him off, saying it should be quick and easy work. That's when Jake snapped. He pulled out a battered notebook from his back pocket, 15 years of meticulous notes on how to keep our store running. Diagrams, schedules, workarounds for half-broken machines, it was all there. Jake spent the next half hour detailing over 100 weekly and monthly tasks he performed. The manager's jaws dropped as they realized how much they'd been taking for granted. Jake offered to type up everything in his notebook, proof of why his job mattered. The managers exchanged worried looks and asked him to step out while they discussed. Something about their reaction made Jake uneasy. Following a hunch, he headed straight for the trash compactor and tossed in his notebook. Just to be safe, he buried it under bags of regular trash from around the store. When they called Jake back in, management's tone had changed completely. They told him he was being fired for insubordination and demanded he hand over his badge, box cutter, and that all-important notebook before security escorted him out. Jake handed over his badge and box cutter, then dropped the bombshell. He'd thrown the notebook in the compactor. The managers' faces went pale. One of them quickly offered to unfire Jake if he'd just rewrite everything from memory. Jake laughed in their faces and walked out with his head held high. In the weeks that followed, BEGGED descended into chaos. They had to spend tens of thousands replacing equipment Jake had miraculously kept running. The new maintenance guy was completely lost. Years later, I ran into Jake and we grabbed lunch. He told me the notebook was his personal property, so legally they couldn't touch him for destroying it. He was proud of what he'd done. "Nobody gets to question my professional judgment," he told me with a grin, "especially not by calling me lazy." I couldn't help but smile. Jake may have lost his job that day, but he'd won something far more valuable: his dignity.